This video is brought to you by Olight. What's up guys, Matt with BleepinJeep. In the last video we mounted that cab on the FC. Since then I've put the tires and wheels on, well, the rollers anyway. What do you guys think? You may be thinking, wow, you're like almost finished. All you need is a bed. But that couldn't be any further from the truth. Let me show you what I'm working on today. Hey guys, once again, Olight is having a flash sale, this time for Valentine's Day, 8 p.m. January 25th. That's today. I'll leave a link down below in the description. If you don't have a Valentine, maybe you can buy one of these for yourself. This is the i5T Brass Limited Edition on sale right now for $31.96. They're also having a couples sale. So the S1R2 and the Baton Pro, $100.69, or the S1R2 plus the S2R2 for $87.69. So this i5T Brass has a single AA battery, 300 lumen output, dual direction pocket clip, and it's heavy duty in brass. It's pretty cool. The S1R2 is 1,000 lumens, magnetic charging, compact size, and it's the best selling Olight flashlight on the website. Go check it out, link down below. It's hard for me to get a full shot of that Jeep since it's so cramped in here and it's such a large project. So after I left you guys last time, I put the wheels and tires on and I was kind of surprised. Well, not really. I knew this was going to happen, but there's a big gap right there. Now the fenders will cover some of that, but I still think it's too high. And the problem with that is I couldn't get the cab down as low as I wanted because of the engine. And also, the stock suspension is not stock. It's actually got a 2-inch lift kit on this thing. So I'm thinking that I'm going to have to go with 0 inches of lift. Now, I know you guys chose Rock Crawler, and maybe Rock Crawler will still want to work with me, but basically it would just be arms, control arms, and shocks, not the springs and not the lift. As you can see, this thing's pretty tall. I'm about 5'10", 5'11", and so that's where it sits. And it only gets taller from there, so we're, you know, pretty close to the ceiling there. It'll come down a couple of inches, but there's pretty much nothing you can do about that because your butt has to sit above the tires. I mean, there's just no other way around it. That's the way a forward cab works. So what am I working on today? Well, this project is like eating an elephant, one bite at a time. There's a lot to do. The next thing I figure, we'll be working on the brake system. So typically you'd have a brake pedal. When you push that, it goes through the firewall and pushes on the brake booster. This firewall is the outside of the vehicle. There's nothing out there. So what we have to do in this case is turn all the brakes around the opposite direction. So what I've done is got a Willwood brake pedal. It's a reverse operated, so when you push it, instead of pushing that way, it actually pushes this direction. Then we have a master cylinder, which is going to operate a slave cylinder that I'm going to put somewhere back in here. Let me show you what I'm working on for that. Here's a typical brake booster. This is one off of a Cherokee. It's a double brake booster, vacuum actuated. And typically your brake pedal would push in this rod right here. This is what's on the other side of that firewall. Your brake pedal pushes that rod and it power boosts the hydraulic braking. Your reservoir sits here and it just gives it a little extra rather than having manual brakes, which the stock FC just had manual brakes like this. Basically, this master cylinder went straight to the brake lines, and that was it. I want to upgrade things a little bit to the modern technology. So what we're going to do, this is going to have a brake line going to a slave cylinder. Here's the slave cylinder. I've cut out these two brackets. There's one that goes on the booster, one that goes on the slave cylinder. I will cut this right about here, and basically all this requires is a rod. This is actually a slave cylinder for a clutch, and when you push in the clutch pedal, or in this case the brake pedal, it's going to push out that rod. In this case, we're going to replace this rod with this rod. So I'll mount this up, weld these two together, then when you push this brake pedal, it'll transfer that fluid into the slave cylinder. The slave cylinder will then push this rod. This rod will then be boosted through the booster into the master cylinder here, and then through your proportioning valve and work phenomenal, I hope. That's the plan, although don't try this at home. It's starting to rain. So that rod has to be just the right length. So you can test it by pushing that in. You can see it doesn't quite go all the way down. It needs to be this long. You can test it by pushing this rod in there. So I've marked it right there. That's how long it needs to be. Turn that around and you can see it's about 1/2 inch short. So I'll take that, cut it down a little more probably, and then cut this, weld the two together so that it's exactly the right length. Something else you can do is weld all thread to that rod, and then you can have an adjustable length if you really wanted to. I don't see the point in this case, but it's kind of a neat technique there as well. You can adapt custom brake boosters to your custom application. This one is off a CJ. That's the one that I removed when I did the Comanche build. Okay, if you're going to weld something like this, make sure that you bevel both the edges. That gives a place for the metal, for the weld, to sit. Now we also want to ground close to our working piece. We don't want to ground through the table and run all that juice through here. That would be bad. Then I'll just take a magnet, put that there, put the piece where I want it, and we're good to weld. You need to cool that off so you don't melt something. Cool it off back here. Alright, I cleaned it up a little bit. Now I'm going to test it. It should bottom out here before it bottoms out here. It's very close, but it definitely does bottom out without bottoming out, if that makes sense. So we're good to go. It's the perfect length. Now what I need to do is build a bridge this distance between here and here on all four sides there. There we go, check that out. That will bolt there, and then this will bolt here. Of course it gets pushed in, bolted down, And then that entire assembly, I think I'll stick it in the doghouse. What do you guys think? Should be perfect in there. What? Hole saws never work for me. And there it is installed. Check it out, guys. That's the interior. And here is under the hood. We've got a dual diaphragm brake booster, master cylinder, proportioning valve, slave cylinder, and we have all that, and we can still check our oil and our transmission fluid, and I still have room for an air filter. How about that? I really didn't want to put any of this inside the cab, but if I were to have pushed it out, it would have taken up this entire space, and this just leaves me with a cleaner area to work with. So it's going to work out good too, because, well, I don't have it over here, but the brake pedal will be inside the cab, and I'll just have a single line running along here somewhere that goes to that slave cylinder, and it'll be nice and tidy. Nice and tidy. It's going to work out good. You may be wondering what I'm going to do for a radiator. Well, so am I. Haven't quite figured that out yet. This space in here is where the original radiator came from. I don't know if that's enough to cool a 4.0 though. I mean, that space is tiny. It's probably only, it looks big in the video, but if I really go like this, it's not that big. I mean, what is that, like 18 inches wide? And height-wise, it's probably about the same. So, not a whole lot of room in there for a radiator. No room in here either. If I can't fit one right there, I'll have to put it out back here, probably right behind that screen in the bed of the truck bed area. But I really like the idea of not having one out back, so I'm going to do everything I can, see what I can do to shove one in there, but highly unlikely. Here's looking at it from the back side, and that works out perfectly because the original brake lines are right here, so I don't even need to make new brake lines. I just take those up 1.5 feet right there, and we're all set. Even the rear brake line is right here. Rear and the two fronts. Alright guys, I'm on to my next mission, and I've got a quandary for you. First person to get this right gets a cookie. A digital cookie. Alright, listen closely. The steering column comes down from here. From there, it's going to go into this angled box. Input goes in here, output goes out there. From there, it's going to go into a right-hand drive steering box that has been put on the left-hand side of this Jeep FC. So that is a Cherokee gearbox for a right-hand drive postal Jeep that's been flipped around backwards so that now the output or the input is facing this direction. So that box is now going to go to that. Then the pitman arm is going to go here, pointed backwards from the opposite direction that it normally would, and that's going to connect to the steering. So my question for you is, this box right here is reversible. Right goes right, and output goes right, or top goes right, output goes left. So, which way should it be to be correct, to turn the wheels and tires the correct direction? Correct answers get a digital cookie. Here's the steering column I bought, by the way. It's super short. Then I need to make a shaft that goes from it to here, and that needs to attach to this angle gearbox. And then that angle gearbox, of course, has to attach to the steering gearbox. And I've got all my steering stuff out here, and this is all I've got. And I can't weld to this because it needs to come off. This is a 1-inch with a keyed slot. So, until I can get all the appropriate parts, I'm going to have to work on my next mission. So until that stuff comes in the mail, I think my next plan of action should be... Oh, have you guys seen this on Instagram? I posted a picture of that thing. That is my cooler. What would you call that? My cooler scooter that I got for my birthday / Christmas a few weeks ago. Alright, right here. I posted this on Instagram too. If you're not following, you should. It's just BleepinJeep on Instagram. Also on Facebook. Anyway, that is a transfer case out of a Rubicon. That is a front axle out of a Rubicon. And that is a rear axle out of a Rubicon. So I've got Dana 44s already geared, already locked, already ready to go. I was thinking about gearing and lockers and all that stuff for these axles in this Jeep. And just by the time that you do all that, it's pretty much just a better bet, cheaper, safer. I said safer. Cheaper and quicker than doing all that. It's just pretty easy, fairly easy, to buy the axles already ready to go. Bolt-in ready. Same with the transfer case. Bolt-in ready, and we will have 4-to-1 plus 410 gearing on 33-inch tires. It's going to be perfect. So let's get these suckers stripped and cleaned. That hurt. Wow. You know this one's going to be a booger. You can tell just by looking at it. Oh, yeah. That came out nice. Wow. We'll go to plan B. That thing does not want to move. Here's a little trick for these. They wouldn't stay. These are supposed to be keepers, but they weren't keeping, so I went ahead and just welded that on there. Then I'll break it free, and then I'll just cut that loose and toss that bolt, put an actual bolt in it like that should have been. There we go. Perfectamundo. Alright, let me show you the next magic trick up my sleeve. That's heat. If it's glowing, it can't be frozen, right? Or something like that. There's some kind of saying. What is this saying? Tell me in the comments below. Alright, so I'm going to turn on the torch, and we're going to heat this up, and it just does create some sort of magic. You'll see. Alright, let's see if that's enough. Perfect. That's hot still. Come on out of there. There we go. Phew. Throw that outside. Alright, that worked really good on the rear axle, so I pounded this back into place on the front axle, and we'll try it the same way. I think I'll wheel it outside and just melt that sucker off of there till I can cut on the inside. I've tried with the Sawzall, and the Sawzall blades just aren't strong enough to cut through that hardened steel bolt. It just takes the teeth right off of there. More heat, I guess.
Way too much fun.
I finally got a warm day and was able to come out here and pressure wash. Pressure washer is right there. I was able to pressure wash the axles, clean them up a little bit. Those are the Dana 44s that I have to go in this sucker. And if you've been following along, you'll know that the engine that I have in there is no good. I've been using it for mock-up. This engine right here is the one that I need to get in there. And that's the one that I put the 241OR Rubicon transfer case in. And so the Jeep doc is going to come this weekend and help me out getting this thing fired up with all the new wiring and all that. So the next thing I want to do is clean out this fuel tank. I have no idea how long it's been sitting, so I want to make sure to get all that old fuel out of there before we introduce that into the engine. I've never opened this style before, but it looks fairly simple. You just pinch here to pull off. Oh. I think that sat out in the sun for a little too long. Dang it! Always something. Okay, so I guess the new sending unit is in order. There it goes. Why would they make that out of plastic? Makes no sense. The fuel is a little murky. It's not too bad, but I want to get it out of there anyway. How am I going to do that? Probably should have used the pump, huh? If you've never seen one of these shaker siphons, it's pretty cool. It just has a little marble in there, and you just shake it up and down and it siphons for you. Hopefully this will work. It's really handy for transferring gasoline. Looks like really stale, old, dehydrated pee. Not only that, but I did another boo-boo here. I don't even know how that happened. Just everything that can go wrong seems to go wrong. I'm sure this one will split here shortly. Today I've been getting these axles ready for paint, tearing them down and cleaning them up. And I'm going to try and remove these bushings because I don't know what they are like, whether they're good or bad. I actually bought this for this sole purpose. I'm not having any luck on this side. Let's try this side. I think I'll have better luck over here. Got any tricks for these suckers? I'm going to try this. It's moving. I think it's moving. Oh! That worked. How am I going to get one of those back in there? This side's a little trickier because this part is part of the bracket. Ah, that was the trick. Now you know. Now you know the tricks. Learning with BleepinJeep. Eat me. Alright, so... Oh my goodness, it's looking really tall. That's because the cab is coming back off again. A lot of people, when I build projects, they don't realize how many times something has to come in and out, on and off, multiple times before the final assembly. This time I need to make some clearance to work on the steering, and I need to make some more clearances by the alternator, and also, the most important thing, I need to get the new engine that's sitting over there into the frame. Remember, we're giving this Jeep away, guys. There's not that many entries, to be honest with you, so if you'd like, there's a pretty good chance that you can win this thing. All the details are on BleepinJeep.com/giveaway. It's pretty simple and easy to enter instructions over there. Telephone. This mat. It's Spectrum, my local TV cable provider. So that's all the video I got for you today, guys. It has been a couple weeks just in this one video. I know it seems a lot faster than that, but things take time. I'm waiting for some things to come in the mail. We've got to paint those axles, get this engine in, so stay tuned for the next video. As always, make sure to smash that thumbs up button, leave me a comment down below, and on that bombshell, we'll see you next week.